Two police officers desperately clung to a man for 5 minutes before he fell to his death from a bridge. Tragically, the body of Mark Stephen, 45, of Grimsby, was never found despite their heroic efforts and those of search and rescue teams. The former taxi driver was one of 2 men who fell from the Humber Bridge within minutes of each other in separate incidents. At an inquest in Cleethorpes Town Hall this week, Assistant Coroner Marianne Johnson commended PC's James Saunders and Daniel Herman for trying to cling on to the Grimsbyman who drove to the bridge in his silver Citroën from where he was living. The 2 officers from Humberside Police Armed Response Team spotted the Citroën with its hazard lights on in the northbound lane of the bridge around 3:50 a.m. on Saturday, December 29, 2018. They saw Mr. Stephen climb the railings next to the footpath and ran to offer help. He jumped off but clung to the railings just as the officers arrived and grabbed hold of his arms. The officers told how they desperately held on for 5 minutes to try to save him. Grimsby Live. The former Grimsby taxi driver was one of 2 men who fell from the Humber Bridge within minutes of each other in separate incidents. Image, Katie Pugh. PC Saunders said, "I took hold of one of his arms by the wrist. He had a jacket on which made it hard to hold on. He told us just let me go. I have lost everything." PC Daniel Herman said in a statement he clung onto the man's left wrist and pleaded with him to let them help him. At one point the man asked them to pull him up, but tragically he slipped from the jacket and he fell into the river. PC Saunders said there had been a number of changes on the bridge, including measures to prevent anyone climbing over safety barriers. Assistant Coroner, Mrs. Johnson told the officer, "I know how distressing that would have been. All credit to you and your colleague for what you did that." In her narrative conclusion, she said, PC Saunders and PC Herman should be given credit for trying to keep him from falling into the river. They must have been very difficult conditions. All credit for the efforts they made. A search and rescue helicopter was immediately scrambled to carry out searches of the river, along with Coast Guards and volunteers. Searches were also carried out along both banks of the river in the hours following the tragedy. His body was never found. But Mrs. Johnson said an application was made to the Chief Coroner for England, Judge Thomas Teague QC, to hold an inquest under the Coroners and Justice Act. She said there is a duty on coroners to conclude an investigation even though someone is not found. She concluded the death was unascertained. Mr. Stephen's wife, Carrie, told the inquest how Mark had suffered depression over 11 years, but they often enjoyed family holidays. He had qualified to work on refineries and most recently worked at Lindsay Oil Refinery. There had been difficulties in their relationship latterly. Friends paid tribute to the talented musician who was in Grimsby band Two Tone Ska Men, who was an amazing guy with a heart of gold. One said he would give his right arm to help people. PC Emma Sorensen told the hearing checks were made of any banking transactions or use of his mobile phone following his fall. But there was no evidence of them being used. DNA was also taken from his coat at the bridge and matched that of Mr. Stephen. Mrs. Johnson said he had made his way to the bridge from Grimsby. "We know it is a well-known suicide spot and know he was on prescribed medication and he had relationship problems. He was clearly anxious and slightly depressed," the assistant coroner told. She said it was most likely that he drowned despite all the efforts to prevent him from falling. Tragically, Sam Conlin, 24, from Hull, also fell from the bridge within the hour before the police officer spotted Mark Stephen. Sam Conlin, 24, from Hull, also fell from the bridge in the hour before police arrived. Image, Facebook. Most read. Captured Russian soldiers cry as they tell relatives I was sent to my death. Ukrainian farmers capture £12 million Russian missile system and set fire to it in field. Russia-Ukraine war live. World War III will be nuclear, Kremlin says, as 2,000 civilians dead. A number of measures have been put in place to make the walkway more secure. A support group run by the Bearded Fishermen has had over 200 visitors to their well-being hub on the country park on the north side of the bridge, told Chairman Rick Roberts. The group started in April 2020 following an increase in the number of people in crisis at the bridge. Rick said. We now have Andy's Man Club, the First Ladies Club and Men's Sheds who all volunteer to help people in crisis and gives them somewhere to go to. Chat. It is a perfect spot. The bridge team are amazing as well and they are always willing to talk to anyone who sees their emergency vehicles. The bridge board are looking at ways of making it safer, including netting. They have to get it right to fit the structure of the bridge. Humber Rescue. Volunteers do an amazing job as well. The groups are seeking more volunteers. Anyone needing help can contact the Bearded Fisherman. If you or someone you know is in need of help, you can contact the Bearded Fisherman Support Center. You can call them on 0300 365 0019 or find the website at. You can also contact the Samaritans 24/7 on 116123. Read more. Policeman's whole family, including daughter and baby son, shot dead by Russians. Read more. Little girl's heartbreak as she leaves her dad behind after fleeing Ukraine.